Dear Bungie, I love your game, but currently your Crucible PvP arena is not fun thanks to the current instant kill meta. It's been a long 127 days since patch 1.1.1, the last weapon balance patch, and 213 days since the last exotic weapon tuning patch. In this time, a new meta in the Crucible has emerged, one that hasn't been actually the most beloved by the community, something I've deemed the instant kill meta. Exotic hand cannons Thorn and Last Word terrorized the Crucible, with Hawkmoon to a lesser extent. Felwinter's Lie has been the bane of all PvPers since it was released, and Blink Shotgun is still incredibly obnoxious to fight against. Now obviously you guys have the numbers and the data, but ever since I saw data that showed that in 5,000 Trials of Osiris series that over 50% of players who won their game had someone using a Thorn on their team, well, I've been a little worried. Granted, it's only 5,000 games, but even still, over 50% for a data pool as small as 5,000 is still somewhat significant. Yet for a grueling 127 days, there has been zero mention of any of these weapons even being an issue despite hundreds and thousands of complaints. Even back in the Suros days, you acknowledged the high rates of Suros usage during a week of Iron Banner. But there's been very little, practically no response or details concerning the status of things like the exotic hand cannons, high impact shotguns, blink shotgun, or even final round snipers. While final round has been removed from the pool of possible bonuses on snipers, that doesn't change the fact that it still exists and it's still incredibly obnoxious to fight against. Alright, enough of this melodramatic writing a letter crap. Let's talk about these weapons. Why are some of these weapons such a huge problem? Well, Thorn, for starters, has the potential to kill in 2 headshots and quite frequently does thanks to its damage over time. People have been able to counter this thing somewhat using the Ram, but that's only available to Warlocks, and somewhat using Red Death. Time to kill for Thorn when you get 2 headshots is around 0.39 seconds, or rather it takes 0.39 seconds to set up for lethal damage when you can then just run away and don't actually have to finish off your target. Not only is its 2-shot kill potential very high, but its range is absolutely staggering, to the point where only at the longest of ranges, where scout rifles can actually succeed, is where it falters. The range nerf done a long time ago didn't really appear to do much to deter people from using Thorn, and over the past 2 months or so, I'd say usage has actually increased. It can hit from ranges where you'd only expect scout rifles to be able to hit from, and if it can hit from scout rifle ranges, then what the hell is the point of a scout rifle? The Last Word has its own problems too, mainly with regards to its time to kill and its range. Despite having one of the worst range stats in the game with regards to hand cannons, it is still able to hit from pretty far distances, and not only can it hit from such distances, there is basically no damage drop-off. Time to kill is among the fastest in the game, even faster than Thorn's at some points. Beyond all that, the Last Word has been bugged for a while in that you can get 111 headshots while aiming down the sights, enabling 2-shot kills in mere fractions of a second, impossible to react to or counter. Granted, some of this issue deals with the fact that when you are scoping in, and for the fraction of a second where you are just aiming down sights vision, it still counts the weapon as being in hipfire mode. From hipfire, this is fine and works as intended. After all, that is the risk of using the Last Word while hipfiring. You risk your accuracy for more damage. But while aiming down the sights, this should not be possible, yet it very much is. You don't even need back-to-back 111s to kill someone. You can get a 111 and a non-bugged headshot and still kill someone. Shotguns in the style of Felwinter's Lie are also a rather large problem because they can kill from ranges deemed pretty unreasonable by the community. The base of the weapon is fine. You run with a high-impact shotgun with a very slow rate of fire. It's a risk. You gamble on making that shot count. However, Bungie decided that it would be okay for people to reforge this thing into the most overpowered version possible of the weapon. Surely, someone must have noticed at Bungie HQ, like, hey guys, you're giving people the ability to make Felwinter's Lie into something really, really strong, and you're giving everyone this ability. Maybe we should monitor that situation. Right? Someone had to have noticed that this was eventually going to be a problem. And even if no one did, that's fine. But what's not fine is that this has gone completely unchecked for over 120 days without a peep from you guys at Bungie, minus an open house that you guys did back in March, which was met with, we'll keep an eye on it. So you have everyone being able to make the most ridiculous version of these kinds of shotguns with shot package, a range bonus, and who cares what else. This enables the blink shotgun style of play to be incredibly good, because as shotguns are given more and more range, the safety net of actually being able to pull off such a stunt becomes bigger and bigger, and the ability to actually counter such an attack becomes smaller and smaller. I'm sure many of you will claim that you know how to counter blink shotgun, that it's so easy or whatever, but guess what? For the vast majority of players, it's not an easy counter, and for some people, it's an impossible counter. Even for good players, the best you can hope for is a trade in most scenarios. I'd say I'd get the better of a blink shotgunner maybe once out of every 20 to 30 attempts. Not only is blink shotgun strong, but both of the classes that can actually blink also have melee attacks with reach, hunter and warlock. So if you don't end up killing with your shotgun, as long as you dealt about 80 damage or so, 80 damage, you can still follow up with a long distance melee attack and get the kill anyway. This brings me to my next point, the ability to counter. It's nice to have a rock, paper, scissors situation happen in something like Destiny. Snipers are good at far range, shotguns are good up close. But right now, how do you counter a Felwinter shotgun? With your own Felwinter shotgun. That, or you stay on the back lines for the entirety of a game, or never go into any sort of close quarters area. How do you counter the last word? You use something that can kill just as quickly, say, I don't know, another last word. How do you counter Thorn? Well, Red Death is the only thing that comes even close, but you have to rely on your opponent missing shots in order to win such a fight. Any player who is able to 2-tap you with Thorn will win that engagement 9 out of 10 times. The time to kill is too fast to be able to counter. So now you have everyone countering all of this nonsense with the same nonsense, which only makes the problem worse. The only way to counter a Felwinter's attack is with your own. It's why you don't really see Invective anymore, or Fourth Horseman, or Found Verdict. They've all been replaced by the super high impact, fully customizable, fully reforgeable shotguns that can be made into their most powerful form. And having to balance Felwinters around everyone having something like Shot Package is not a good situation to be in. Most of the other bonuses on shotguns are horizontal in power, while Shot Package enables vertical power gains. So instead of having this beautiful range of weapons being used in the Crucible, you just have the same loadout on every single player. Let me guess. Thorn or Last Word with a Felwinter's Matador or Judgment 6 shotgun, and a Grenades and Horseshoes rocket launcher. How original. To play with any different weapon immediately puts you at a disadvantage. And people can spout, just play with a different weapon, all they want in the name of wanting to play for fun, but let's just say my example of having fun doesn't include being outgunned in every single encounter, and I can't imagine it's included in your examples either. We're beyond, if you don't like it, don't use it. If you use something like Bad Juju or Mida Multitool, you are putting yourself at a disadvantage before the game even starts. People can no longer play with the weapons that they want to have fun with, but rather must use this set of weapons to even stand a chance. The main problem overall is the speed at the rate these weapons can kill, which generates the problem of people not being able to use the weapons they actually want to in order to succeed. So how can we bring these weapons into check? With Thorn, bring down the damage over time so that 2 headshots cannot kill someone. The appeal of Thorn should be that you leave your opponent more vulnerable by disabling their ability to regenerate their shields for a longer period of time compared to yourself. Thorn's main problem before it was buffed was its horrifically slow reload time and the fact that it only had 6 shots in the magazine. Bringing it up to 9 shots was fine. Speeding up its reload was fine. What ended up not being fine was increasing its damage over time to 7 damage per tick. And whoever thought adding additional screen effects to those hit by Thorn needs an additional slap upside the head. Thorn was already strong enough at the time, and then Bungie adds that? Are you joking me? On top of all that, its range can be choked down by a little bit, or be put into a position where damage drop-off actually exists. Right now, it's only noticed at the farthest of ranges, but if you're hitting, you're still dealing about 95% of your normal damage. Of course, a lot of this is anecdotal evidence, but I'm sure many of you would agree. That is the hand cannon's main issue right now, too much range. Obviously, the main appeal of Thorn is that it can 2-shot headshot, that's why everyone uses it. Obviously, people are worried that if you nerf this ability, the appeal of Thorn is drastically reduced, and that's definitely a worry. I don't think I'd be alone in saying that much like Suros needed a vacation, I don't think many of you would mind if Thorn took a vacation either. It's just gotten to the point, at least for me personally, that I'd like to see Thorn nerfed out of sheer spite and frustration. Yes, I realize that's a terrible reason to nerf something. I don't think what I suggested nerfs it to the point of being garbage, but at least it puts it within reason. The Last Word needs a range nerf, plain and simple. The ranges this thing is capable of killing from are unacceptable for a weapon of its killing speed potential. Either the range needs to be hacked down or the impact, but I don't think touching the impact is a great idea. I've heard the suggestion of taking one shot out of the magazine to bring it down to 7, which I think would be an interesting idea as well. Let's face facts, no one is using the last word for PvE purposes, and not every exotic is designed to be good for everything. Look at something like No Land Beyond. It was designed to be a run-and-gun PvP sniper according to the Bungie open house back in March. The 111 headshot issue needs to be resolved as well. Take a look at this clip. I'm able to set up lethal damage in 10 frames. That's 330 milliseconds. This is not the kind of time to kill time we have come to expect from Destiny. It's just not. The shotgun's biggest problem is that they can be reforged into their absolute most powerful form. I think removing something like Shot Package might be good for the game in addition to getting rid of Rangefinder as an option for shotguns. After all, Bungie has been removing Final Round from snipers and Field Scout from all weapons. And let's face it, it is overwhelmingly the best option for a PvP shotgun. Everyone gets Shot Package. You could nerf it, but if you don't nerf it enough, it'll still be the best option on a shotgun. If you nerf it too much, it would be along the lines of having actually been removed from the game since no one will use it anymore. It simply provides too much of an advantage for shotguns, especially blink shotgunners who can take much less of a risk. It creates a situation where the only counter is another one of those kind of shotguns. We'll even talk some grenades and horseshoes, probably not going to be making too many friends with this one, but oh well. Grenades and Horseshoes has removed any skill required to use a rocket launcher effectively. It makes playing against rocket launchers a chore and very difficult since the radius of the explosion is so large. The only guaranteed way to dodge a Grenades and Horseshoes rocket is with Blink, giving people even more reason to use Blink, which enables Blink Shotgun to happen. Not only that, but it's readily available on 2 faction rockets and is easily reforged too. This bonus should be an exotic level bonus. I will concede that at the same time, if you nerf rocket launchers, then you'll see the rise of heavy machine guns. Obviously, rockets are there to counter heavy machine guns from getting too crazy. I'd like to see the radius at which a rocket will explode with Grenades and Horseshoes reduced just a little bit. I'll even give you the insanity of letting people get 4 rockets with their heavy ammo pickups, which I also think is a little bit crazy. Now you might be saying that I left Hawkmoon off this list, and you'd be correct up until this exact moment in the video, I guess. Hawkmoon also needs a range nerf, as that's easily its biggest strength. However, while it's still really good, it's not nearly as consistent as something like Thorn, as if you don't get any procs, it operates just like any other hand cannon in the game. I didn't even talk about lag in this entire video either, where people who are lagging end up with an advantage over other players. These players should not be rewarded for having a terrible connection, and that is something that can hopefully be addressed. I realize that network connectivity issues are a much more difficult problem to solve than something like weapon balance though. Now I'm guessing the argument of, Datto, instead of nerfing these weapons, why not bring everything else up to their level, is going to be made at some point. The reason you don't do that is because then the issue of the instant kill meta gets even worse, because of power creep. The problem isn't that everything else kills too slowly, but that these few items are outliers and kill too quickly. If you bring everything else up to their level, then you have a Crucible where everyone is killing each other at ridiculous speeds. And that's bad. No one wants that. The general consensus is that the community wants the game to slow down with regards to time to kill. Speeds should be slower. And it's going to be much easier to tone down 3 or 4 problematic weapons than it will be for Bungie to bring up literally all other weapons in the game. Buffing everything would be an example of power creep occurring, where now Bungie would need to make weapons that need to kill even faster in order for anything else to compete. Power creep continues, and you're left with a complete mess of a game mode. The reason I liked playing the Taken King at E3 so much at the time is because there were no exotics, and a lot of you, according to Twitter, seemed to like this notion. Everyone was limited to legendaries, and this was the most fun I've had playing the Crucible probably since the beta. I used an auto rifle, and I was having fun with it. I used a hand cannon, and I wasn't completely annihilating everyone. I think a no exotic playlist would be a welcome addition to the game, similar in the way that Inferno and Salvage rotate. Doesn't have to be around all the time, but like Bungie has said, it's a good way to experiment with new PvP modes, and hey, maybe it's one that people will enjoy. It could just be a random game mode, or it could alternate between Clash and Control, either works. Even going back to something like Suros, you still saw other legendary weapons being used. Shadow Price, Vanquisher. If you're taking a hand cannon now, you're using an exotic one. That's for certain. Auto rifles definitely need a slight boost as well. Going back to when they were nerfed, I never really thought that auto rifles were the problem. I felt like it was much more Suros being the problem, but hindsight is 20/20. I think that its less auto rifles need a rebuff than it is the really strong stuff needs to be toned down, but they could definitely use a little bit of a boost. I wouldn't mind seeing fusion rifles going back to their original status either right now, you just don't see them anymore due to the power of the shotgun. All in all, I'm not disappointed that this is currently the meta that we're playing. I'm not disappointed that I'm basically limited to 2 or 3 weapons to even stand a chance. What I'm disappointed about is the total lack of communication on Bungie's end about the state of the Crucible when they previously have spoken about issues with Crucible in the past. Because they must know. They have the data. They read the forums. They read Reddit. They play the game. And I'm sure they complain about the same crap we do. So please, Bungie, at least say something about the poor state of the Crucible. Because guess what people are doing when they complain about Prison of Elders being too boring or having all their loot already? They go to the Crucible, they go to Trials of Osiris, and people are getting really sick and tired of the current meta. Yes, we know that you're working on the next expansion and new content, we know that you're busy, but we still need eyes on the game in its current state, and right now it feels like Destiny is a parentless child running around a Walmart screaming its head off while her parents are in the electronic aisle. We can't go this long without weapon checks and balances. We need more than bi-yearly updates. Unfortunately, I don't see anything being done until the Taken King, and I really hope that's not true. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.